I'm going to record. I'm going to share this. Make it a little bigger. Y'all can see that?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So first of all, if I git pull, I can make sure I got all the recent changes, right? Which is what we've been doing. So I know Faye and Buki have made a few changes over the last few days. I git pulled earlier, so that's why I'm up to date. And you can always type Git Status just to see how we're doing. So let's see here. Untrack. Oh gosh, why do I have Miro.disk image in here? That should not be here, actually. I must. So this is an untracked change. I just want to delete that. I must have downloaded this file and accidentally put it in the wrong folder. So let me do that again. Yeah, now we're fine. So one thing we haven't been doing so far is properly using the GitHub workflow. Okay, we've just kind of all been owners of this project. Each of us, we pull changes when we go in, and that's led to some problems, right? There's been some inconvenience there when one person gets ahead of the other. And that's really why Git exists. So we've been using GitHub to host our project and keep track of everything. But really, if we want to do this correctly, we want to create branches every time we get to work. And then we want to merge them back into the project. So let's just look at an example of this. First of all, if you're ever wondering what Git can do, you can do git -- help like this to see a list of all the different commands. Let me make this a little bigger for now, right? So we've got clone, init, adding, which we already use, right? We've already used commit. We already use push and pull. The one I want to look at today is branch. Okay. So let's see what happens if I type git branch, right? It tells me which branch I'm on, main, at the bottom of the page. If I don't really know how to use branch, I could type git branch 2 dashes and then help, and this shows me the options, right? So this shows me I can list, create, or delete. Here's all the options of what I can type after the word branch. And you don't have to memorize all this right now, because keep in mind, you can just read the description here anytime. And there's great resources online for continuing how to use this. Okay. It seems like I want to create a branch. So we've got delete, something about create. I'm not sure what reflog means, right? So I could choose to read more about that. Or I could just look for something that seems simpler, right? And I'm just pressing enter to move through all the options here. Okay. So yeah, that's from a known tag. This is when the branch or the tag already exists. All right. Oh, there's Faye. So docs are there. I just want to make a branch for today. Okay. So all I actually have to type is, let's say, Dev Course Wednesday. Okay. And here I'll put dashes in between those so it's easier to read. Dev Course Wednesday. And then if I say git branch again, you can see that I'm still on main here, but this new Dev Course Wednesday branch shows up in my list. And I actually want to.
James?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I'm thinking now, if you're creating branches, I'm thinking that pull requesting would be very necessary because one needs to kind of merge everything together into one branch.
Exactly. The git pull is still going to be necessary, right? And in fact, pushing and pulling the way we've been doing is still going to be valid. All right, we're still going to use that. But this does allow you to go in and make any changes you want without worrying about what else is happening. Okay, so yeah, we are still going to use that workflow, and we're not going to do everything at once today, right? I just want to get confident with this idea of branches locally, and then we'll continue to kind of build from there. Okay, so now that this branch exists, right? And watch, let me show you Git status again. It says I am currently on branch main, right? But if I type Git checkout and then the name of the branch I just made, and then I say Git status again, now it shows me I'm on the branch Dev Course Wednesday. So now when we do work on this branch, it has zero effect on the main branch. And I could go in and I could destroy everything. I could make all sorts of mistakes because I'm trying to learn some new things, right? And I want to be able to take some risks without hurting the rest of the project. That's what this allows me to do. It also allows me just to focus on one issue at a time, right? So if there's something specific that I need to be working on, this allows me to go in, work on that change. Maybe somebody else is working on a different branch somewhere else, right? And then we can all kind of merge back together and push our changes to the main branch, okay? Git branch again, I can see the main branch is still there, but now I'm on this one. So let's do some work on this branch for today. And at the end of this session, we'll come back and we'll merge these changes back into the main one, and then we'll push the whole thing like we usually do. Okay, any questions so far?
No question, no question.
All right, let's go for it. Buki, what's up?
Sorry, Mr. James, can you please zoom your screen a little?
Oh, of course. How's that?
This is better. Thank you.
Good. All right. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create some site-wide type components. All right. And this is a good thing to do before we go too much further. All right. So there's a few things we're going to do here. One, I want to think about if we want to bring in some outside fonts. And I know Buki and Faye, you already know how to do that, right? So we'll apply some fonts and we'll just look at how to handle that in Tailwind. And then we'll make a few site-wide type components so that we can use those across the site. Let me start up my dev server, npm run dev. Yeah, Faye.
Please, is it possible for one to create a branch also on the GitHub instead of from your terminal?
It is, yeah. You can create branches at github.com. I recommend doing it from the terminal, right? Because the behavior of a branch hosted on the web is different from what I have here. For example, what I'm looking at today, this branch I made is local only to my computer, right? It's not going to get in the way or confuse anybody else. But if I want to collaborate on a branch, yeah, I could push this whole branch up to GitHub. That would work. Or, and actually, so that's called a pull request. Let's get to pull requests later. I don't want to do too many things at once. But then, yes, you can also create a branch on github.com and use that. If we have time at the end, let's jump into that. Otherwise, let's save that for an upcoming session. I want to reload this page. Here's what we've got. It's working so far. Buki, what was the name of the page you added? Delegate is there.
Page. I just added something to the about, it like a segment.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Sorry, to the about page.
This segment down here.
No, there's a segment down. Yeah, this one.
Okay. Cool. Good. We'll come back to that too. This is looking pretty professional. All right, good. Obviously, we still have work to do, so we'll keep going. All right. Let's talk fonts for just a second. I'm assuming y'all know about Google Fonts. And if anybody wants to open this in the background and just browse through, I'm open to any suggestions. I want you all to be the decision makers. But can someone tell me one they like here? Or if you have a machine going, go to fonts.google.com. And while I'm doing some other things, getting typography set up, we can choose, I would say, up to 2 fonts, right? We can do one for headers, and we could do another one for regular paragraph text. So if anybody's got opinions there, take a look and let me know either by unmuting or in the chat. While you're
Open Sans looks nice.
What's it called?
Open Sans condensed.
Yeah, that looks cool. Let's use that one just to get started. Right. And then you can go in and play with other options, right? So let's look at the workflow here for Tailwind. Always, I'll open this up. This is going to be in our Tailwind config file where we've already been doing some work, right? So font family, there's these defaults, but also when I scroll down, you can see customizing. And whenever we want to talk about customizing, we're usually going to be talking about this Tailwind config file where we've started to dip in the last few weeks. So let's open that up. I don't need my terminal for now. Tailwind config is here. And you can already see that font family is here, right? There's already this placeholder. So recently we've added some background images. Oh, look, I see. It looks like you probably want to use strand and about smile. I'm just going to put quotes around those because if those haven't been working, that's why. That's what that'll need. So now you should be able to, as long as strand.jpg exists, yep, and ABCD1 exists, good. All right, so you should be able to use those background images. We've got this font family here. So now there's 2 things I'm going to do in order to use a custom font. One is, of course, I have to, well, I could write the name here, but actually, I'm going to do something different. What I hope you can see is that these built-in sans, serif, and mono are all here. What I'm allowed to do is actually add my own options to these arrays. Okay. Here's how that works with Google Fonts. So let's say I want to use Open Sans condensed, right? I'm going to say, and let's do both. Let's do the bold and the regular. I'll skip italic for now, right? So, right, whenever I click these buttons, it just changes what's over here. Then I'm going to head over to import, and I need this line right here. All right. I'm going to ignore the style tags because I'm not going to import this into my HTML. I'm actually going to import it into my CSS. So I can copy that. And then I want to find my main.css. So in the styles folder, main.css, we're already importing a few things just to make Tailwind work. But right here below those imports, I can import other things. For example, I can import these custom fonts. Let me save that. And then if I want to use that, all I have to do is grab the name of the font. This is probably too small. Let me zoom in. All I have to do is grab the name of the font right here. Okay. And I'm going to copy that into my Tailwind config. So let's say I want to replace anywhere that's possible. I want the first choice for sans site-wide to be Open Sans condensed instead of this UI one. All right, now I'm not going to save this yet. Let's go back and look at our site and just see if we can see these differences when it happens. Yeah, we've got like a bunch of text here. Let me zoom in on that too. So let's just see if we can see these changes when we do this. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. Once I save this, and I go back here and I reload, yeah, that certainly does look different. Okay. So again, the workflow is I import into main.css. I add the name of that font here. And then I'm pretty much good to go. Okay, now I've got a custom font. You can add as many as you want, right? So sans, serif, and mono are built in, but if you want specialized names for fonts, just like we have specialized names for backgrounds, you can do that in tailwind.config, right? So we've got backgrounds called bg-about smile, bg-strand, bg-woman. That's great. And let's do one called ABCD. Use a dash there. Heading. How about that? Okay. And let's pick one more font to serve as our heading. I'm going to do something ridiculous and make you change it later. Okay, so let's find something that just looks really ostentatious.
Messages, let's use Montserrat.
Montserrat's so responsible. That one's not that crazy. I was hoping to choose something weird. How about this? Can I use this one, sign mono, just for fun? And then this can be one of your exercises, okay? And we never know, maybe this will look good. So let me select this one. I'm going to grab this import. I'm going to copy it over to main, right? And you could use, you see, I'm using two separate imports right here just because I'm playing right now. When you actually go to production, you'll probably want to combine all of your fonts into one import. But for now, I'm just grabbing another one here. And this is called sign mono, right? There it is. So let me grab that. Let's go back into Tailwind, and this is where we're going to write sign mono. As a backup for that, let's use Georgia like we see right here. Okay. All right, so now we've got this custom font ready to go, ABCD heading. But how do I use it? It's not going to do anything yet. And this is the next thing I wanted to show you today is how to make components for type that you can use site-wide. And this allows you to really customize and have control of the entire site. Now, we already built a custom heading 1, 2, and 3, and we already built a custom paragraph. So what we're doing here might be as simple as just replacing a bunch of tags site-wide with these ones. All right. Let's just look on the home page for a minute, index.html. And yeah, heading 1 actually already, I already see it right here. So if I look at the web page and I go home, this text right here, that's already going to be heading 1. Well, I think maybe heading 1 should be a little bigger. Oh, whoops. I'll leave that open for now. I don't need main, but I do want to reopen my type component that didn't stay open. All right. So heading 1, right? Let's see. So we've got a text 5XL on large screens. Let's just do this. Let's make this simpler here. Let's just say that by default, this text is small, like text XL, that's reasonably small. But on a big screen, let's just say anything medium and up, it's going to be really big, 5XL. I think this alone is going to make that text much bigger. Let's go take a look. Yeah, that's better. We had too many different font size utilities here. So I just cleaned that up a little bit, and maybe we'll go down here and do the same thing in just a minute. But yeah, 5XL, that's actually looking pretty good. You can go as large as 8. Okay, maybe that is what I want there. That actually looks pretty good to me. And then because we have this, it still won't be too big on a smaller screen. So let's check. Good, good. Yep, it just wraps lines. That still looks good. And in a moment, it's going to get smaller. Yeah, so right at that break point, it gets much smaller. And that's what we'll see on mobile devices. I'm happy with that. Maybe I want the mobile size to be a little bit bigger. I could go 2XL. That's probably fine. So you can play with that too. But also, if I want a custom font, now what I can do is I can say, okay, font ABCD heading. And I'm not saying I made a good choice with the font here. I just wanted to start with something and let you play with it. Okay. And actually, I don't need that either. So font ABCD heading. Save that. Let's see if this works. Yep, absolutely. I'm not saying that looks terrible, but it's just that, I just really want to show you how this works, and I'll let you decide what to do next. Still looks good. Responsive, it's still a different font. I think we're in good shape here. Cool. Who's got questions about that?
Mr. Joyce, here this looks quite cool. What of other pages? It's not just here we are using header 1. Won't these changes affect it, like on the about or blog or contact?
Good. Well, they didn't affect anything yet. Not yet. On the blog, did they affect? Oh, it did work on the blog. Actually, that looks pretty cool. That doesn't look bad, but it's up to you to decide what fonts you're going to use.
It looks big here.
So why did this change and not this, for example? Right. And the reason is, if I go in to about, let's open that up, and let's also open up blog page. On blog page, I'm using heading 1. And I just styled heading 1, and that's why you can see those styles here. On about, we are not yet using heading 1 up here. We're just using this span to style the text. Well, let's just replace that, because we don't want to be doing this all across the site. right? We don't want to go around and look for all of the different places we've styled text. We want to have just a small handful, right? Everything about text styling can be in one file. And then if you use these tags across the site, that means every time you make a change here, it's going to apply to everything. You make the change once, it applies to your whole site. You don't like this font anymore, you change it once and it applies everywhere. Same thing with color, size, everything. Okay, so I'm not going to do the entire site right now, but I want to show you the workflow for getting into this. Let's say that instead of using some customized span right here, let's just replace this. Sorry, now what did I call it? With heading 1. Heading 1 and heading 1. Now, of course, this is not gonna work yet. When I save this, make sure I save this again. I go back to about, it tells me heading 1 is not defined. And the reason that that's happening is I have to make sure to import my fonts like we're doing right here in the blog page. Let me just copy this font, this import. I might not use all of these, so I can always go back and delete the ones I'm not using. You see how VS Code leaves these kind of highlighted less. So you can see that all this means is that I'm not using these ones. This one that's nice and bright means I am using it. But let's save that. And this should reload just fine. Oh, because I'm not here. And I used too many dots here because I pulled this from blog page, which was one extra folder down. So I only need to go one directory up. There we go. All right. That actually, I have mixed feelings about this. That looks kind of awesome, but maybe not the shape we were originally going for. And obviously those lines need to be fixed, but you can kind of get the idea, right? Let's suppose that maybe I just don't want that one to be as big. And that's what heading 2 is for. What if heading 2 is very much the same as heading 1, but just slightly smaller sizes, right? What if this was like 4XL and this is 1XL right here? Save that. Oh, wait, I didn't change it. So I changed heading 2, but I'm not using it yet here. Good. I want to change that to heading 2 and that to heading 2. Now you can see heading 2 is in use. Save that. And that's a smaller font size. All right. So you can play with sizes. You can play with customization. Let's just zip through this entire page right here and replace all of these tags with something from this page. So far, I have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and paragraph. I might decide I need additional fonts later, and you can always go back and do that. Well, let's just go like this. Okay. We've got learn more here. Let's go paragraph as well. We may realize that we want to make a custom link at some point, but for now, I'm going to leave that link looking the same as just regular text. Let's go with heading 1 here. We got an about card there. We got an image. That's fine. Let's go heading 1 here. Let's go with paragraph here. Let me wrap text so this is easier to see. All right, there's a link in there. Let's get rid of that, and we'll come back later and update our links. Let's go with paragraph here as well. And here. And we're going to have to make those same changes a few more times. But I can do that quickly. Maybe I want this to be, well, heading 1 is going to look really big, actually, I'm realizing. What if I make these heading 3s? So these are the cards, right? These are each of my about cards. So yeah, what if I say that an about card has heading 3? And we can do the same thing here for the word innovation. Heading 3. Heading 3. That's the last about card. Let's go. Heading 1. That's an image. These we're going to want paragraphs. And same thing here. Here. Now I'm working fearlessly right now because I'm on a separate branch. If I do something that just looks terrible, I know that I can always go back to the way things were before I did this session, just by deleting this branch. Right? Let's make each of these a separate paragraph. Like that, because this is here. Another paragraph there. This one, whoops, into here. Get rid of this tag because we don't need it anymore. We'll switch this. Hopefully this is nice and meditative for everybody just to see this going through, right? And you're kind of just getting the workflow here. But chime in if you have questions, of course. Yeah, I want to make this. I see you got this line, this triple line here to kind of break things up a little bit. That might come in handy, but we have other ways that we can work on that too. And we got a list here, so I'm going to want to change that into a list. Is this where the problem was, like down here? Yeah, we'll clean this up. Okay. This is good. Okay, I'm gonna start at the top again because I know I ignored a few things. We're making our way down. But this is good. If I do this process for this page, what I'm doing right now is I'm just going through to make sure that I haven't ignored any like traditional paragraph or header tags. Fixing my spacing a little bit. Everything's red because I have like a floating tag somewhere, but that's fine. That'll be fixed as soon as we find it. This goes with that div, which is good. So we've got this what we do heading. We've got this next div. We've got some spacing, right? Then we've got the about card. We've got the image itself. Then we've got some text in a div. That's fine. Heading 3, paragraph, paragraph, paragraph. Heading 3. Let's make sure that we put around that. We can get rid of this one. Let's just leave the link for now as the first thing. We'll come back to that. Actually, yeah, let me get rid of the styling here. We'll come back and fix that too. So that looks good. Same thing as the previous card here. Get rid of the styling in the link for that, because we can come back and do that later. Just get rid of this paragraph tag for now. I'm holding Alt and pressing the up arrow when I move blocks like that. That's a really helpful trick. And that should be the end of that section of cards. Then we've got this new vision section, another image. This is where I was working on those paragraphs. That should be fine. Heading 1 is there. Then we've got, this line doesn't have anything in it. Is that that's the line with like the wiggly edge, right? So I'll leave that for now. I'm gonna get rid of this line for now, but we can come back and add that later. Okay, then we want to close a paragraph here. Oh, looks like that's the reason the whole site was complaining. Good to know. And then I want to use an unordered list to make these bullet points. Okay. So instead of using those dashes there, let's use some list items. And whoops, we'll just put an LI at the end of each of those lines. Yeah. Oh, can you hear me?
I'm still seeing a.
Mr. James, you missed one of the tags.
Where? Do you see what line?
Yeah. Like this one. There's no close tag for it.
Oh, Faye, I'm getting, can you chat that to me? Because I'm getting some.
I wanted it.
If you can see which line it is, or just tell me to go up and down, but just show me in the chat, because for some reason I was getting a bunch of feedback from you there.
The list tag.
In the list. Oh, there it is. Thanks. Oh, there it is. Nice. Good eyes.
Yeah.
See, and this takes me a bunch of work one time to do this. This is the critical thing here, right? At the end of the day, what I'm doing right now is going to have taken me a total of maybe 30 minutes, right? So that's a little investment of time. But what this means now that I'm doing this is you'll be able to go into your type.js file and just change everything all at once. That I think is the beauty of this. Does it not like this div right here? Yeah. Okay. Nice big font for Josh's name. I want the girls' names even bigger than this, Josh.
I'm nothing to say, but yes, of course, it should be like that.
Yep. Yeah, we need these cool illustrations that you and Gwendol have of the rest of the team. All right, so I have no idea if I broke things or not. Let's go take a look. Oops, here's right. What we're gonna do now is go see how things look and change what we need to. Oh, I'm missing a corresponding closing tag online, 132. Let's find.
James?
Yeah.
Sorry, what did I miss? What were you asking?
I was saying we need the girls' names to be at least as big as yours on this site, maybe bigger.
Tempting. Sure. No problem.
Just I want these to we need developers to have a high profile.
For sure. Gotcha.
Right? Because that's where the work happens. Line 203. It looks like I was supposed to close something that I didn't. We got that div here. Oh, this is where we were talking about.
Okay.
All right. There's a div. That one closes that one. Whoops. Sorry. And this one closes this one. We've got this. I'm going to get rid of this section here because we've got the name of the cohort here. And yeah, somewhere. Okay, we're still going to have an error, but let's find it. Unterminated JSX contents. It still says on line 194. Am I just missing a closing div? Hold on, this is the lazy way to figure this out. I think that should be fine. Oh, paragraph is not defined. On line 65, I misspelled paragraph. So I go back there, add that R. Same thing here. Okay, let's save that. Are we close? All right, good. So font is way too big up here. That's good to know. What we do doesn't look bad. I like how this is looking. Maybe this font needs to be bigger. And we haven't defined anything for list items yet. And then you can't see this last container at the bottom. Okay, so yeah, we're currently unable to see this. Unless it's just like hidden behind here. Maybe that's the problem.
Mr. James?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking the heading one might be too big for
It's
the
definitely
meeting
too big.
founders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hero section is looking a little bit skewed.
Yes, it is.
I don't
Okay,
know.
let's fix both of those things now. Exactly. So right, I just went through, I changed all these fonts. So I think we can change these to heading 2s. Just to make them a little smaller. That'll fit better. Which makes sense. Okay. So we made that change, right? That looks better. And then, yeah, at the top, it's way too big. So.
It's way too big.
But why? Oh, check it out. Yo, okay. You know what this is up here? This is
No?
this thing that's off the screen up at the top is this thing that we couldn't find before. And so what's going on? Styles.container outer and details are all coming from about.module. Let's go take a look at that. Container isn't here.
Oh, I think.
You know what I'm gonna do? So first of all, let me just, I don't think we need to be using styles.container this way. And even this, I might get rid of it. Let's just here. I don't think we need to be using regular.
Yeah, I was trying to create something with styles.container. I'm not done with it. So you can just delete.
For now, I'll delete it, but let's also
You can
talk
delete
about,
styles.container. It's not needed.
let's try to make a component for that container instead of here. And I know this isn't, we don't want this all in the same section, but I think it'll be fine for now. Let me just see what this looks like, the founders section, if I do that. That looks pretty cool, but we just want to move this text over now. That's okay. I think that looks really cool, actually. And we can use, actually watch this. I can put all of this, these two divs, and right, and as the team grows, you can just keep adding. But let's make this flex and arrange it in a row. Right, and then let's move. I'm moving fast here. You might want to go back to some of this and watch it again to see what I just did there with flex row. But watch, that puts these guys in a row. And then there's actually this cool feature. Where is it? Flex. Not direction. It's not wrap. Not mission. Maybe it was items. I think it might be this one. Now I can't remember. I was just playing with this earlier.
Mr. James?
Yeah.
Yeah, with that section, I was trying to kind of, that's what I told you earlier before the class started. I was trying to mix both the conventional CSS with Tailwind. I used the conventional CSS for the gradient effect. Then I used Tailwind's image tag to kind of design it so it would be more easier to make it more responsive. So I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, because I find that Tailwind is a bit limited with some styling.
You're exactly right. It is limited, and it's that on purpose. So there's a few different ways to deal with that. Okay, I spaced. So the way I just spaced these guys out, sorry, I was multitasking there, is I used place content around. And what that does, Faye, I agree. I want to come back to that point in just a second. But if we just look quickly at this div surrounding these guys, right? What this does is it makes sure that inside of this div, the spacing of the internal divs is the same at the edges and in between. So it gives it a nice kind of distributed effect. And even if you keep adding people to this, that's going to keep happening. Okay. Now, to your point about the limitations of Tailwind, I agree completely. And so, Buki, you said that you were trying to combine some traditional CSS with what's in Tailwind. Let's look at, I'd really like to look at what you need to accomplish and then try to do it. Okay. So what I'm going to do for now is let's just, I'm going to get rid of where, because these styles don't exist yet anyway, so you can come back and add them if you want to, if it turns out
Yeah, it's no problem
to be necessary. But here's the thing, right? Here, let's just put a, well, let me just save this to show you that now we can see this down here instead of this being stuck up at the top, right? And now there's no longer a mess up here because we just grabbed everything and we got rid of those extra classes that were kind of sticking it to the top of the page. Now I can change this word to section, and I can go, yeah, let's use these same settings here, all right? And that's going to be good enough as a place to leave off, right? So that's kind of more what we wanted. Now you can build from there. And everything is spaced out. Okay, that's a good start. We still have to style the list items. Okay, so maybe that's something we can do on Friday. And maybe you want to keep playing with custom styles, but I think this is a good place to go. And so if between now and Friday, you can both go through, do what I just did here to every page on the site, right? Don't leave any H1, H2, H3, or P tags alone. Change them all into our custom types, because again, that allows us to make changes quickly. For example, I noticed the paragraph text was kind of small. I want to change it everywhere that I'm using paragraph tags. All I have to do is go text LG once, and then it's populated to the whole page. And so you're going to see, yeah, that's a much better size for that font. Okay. Maybe it still needs to be even bigger than that, right? So maybe I go 2XL. That's probably going to be too big for mobile, but it actually looks kind of nice on here. So you can decide. Notice these list items are still small because I'm using an LI tag that hasn't been styled yet. It doesn't even have bullet points attached to it yet. Okay. Let's go back to LG. I'll let you decide about font and color and all that. All right. But The last thing I want to do today is now merge my work back in to the main branch. Okay, so let's do a git status. Okay, so now when I type git status, I see, first of all, these changes are not staged for commit. So I'm going to want to commit these at some point, right? I recognize I'm still on the branch dev course Wednesday. So let's still do git add dot to add all of our changes. Let's still commit these changes with a message. This is dev course session on the 31st of March, right? Okay, now git status again. Okay, well, it looks like everything is now committed to this branch. But what if I go git branch main? Whoops, I wasn't supposed to type that. That means I'm trying to make a new branch. What if I say git checkout main? Now I'm back on main. You can see it here. If I say git status, that's still up to date. The problem is if I go to main, for example, and let's close all of these files for a minute, and I go into my about.js, what you're going to see is all of those changes I just made, they're not here yet. P tags, H1 tags, right? Because I just switched back to main. Let's do git checkout dev course Wednesday again. And you can see the file above me just changed. This is the file I was just working on with all those styles, right? So it changes dynamically. It's really nice how VS Code handles switching between branches. What we really need to do now is now put this branch back into our main branch. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is git checkout main, then git merge, right? Wait, hold on. Am I doing this? Yeah, I just want to make sure. Exactly. Right. I just want to make sure I'm doing this right before I go the wrong direction. I'm in the branch that I want to merge into. And so when I'm inside of main and I say git merge, then I can say dev course Wednesday. And now those changes are going to be part of this new branch. Git status. I'm on branch main. Git branch, you can see I'm on branch main, right? But even though I'm on branch main, now I can see those changes in my about.js file. So everything we just did has now been committed over to here. If I go look at main.css, you see my imports. If I look at Tailwind Config, you can see the fonts I added. And the reason all of those are now part of the main branch is because I did this git merge step here from the main branch. So now, those changes. Okay. And now if I go back up to the repository here, right? How many branches are there? There's only main, right? Because the branch I made on my local device, that was never pushed anywhere. That was local only. It wasn't online. But the changes we made have already been merged. So for example, in Tailwind Config, you can see those changes I made. In, oops. Yeah, that's what I want, pages, right? Hey, I'm getting some noise. I can't really hear you.
Mr. James?
Can't really hear you. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, do we need Git CLI installed for this or?
No, you don't. You don't need the GitHub command line tools. All you need is Git. Okay, so what I showed you
Okay.
today, yeah, great question. Everything I did today was just using the word Git, which you already have, right? And I showed you, and you can watch back through this video to see what I did at the beginning and the end. But I showed you Git branch. I showed you Git checkout. I showed you Git merge. Okay. Make sure you can understand how branch, checkout, and merge work. And you can go through this video to see how I use those, right? You can use Git Status anytime to check which branch you're on. And you can also use Git branch anytime to just look at a list. Now, actually, last thing, I don't need that dev course branch anymore. And I don't want to confuse anybody or my future self by leaving it there. And as you can see on the main branch, all the changes I made, they're here on GitHub. It's safe to delete that branch that I was just working on. So let's do that. How do I delete? Well, what if I just type git branch delete?
Mr. James?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought you said it's in your local machine and no one has access to it. Is there still any need to delete it?
Well, I'm just deleting it to keep my house clean, right? I don't want to have all that extra stuff floating around and 1 week from now go back in and say, oh, shoot, what was that one for? What was that one for? So I might as well just delete it. So look, when I typed git branch delete, look what happened. It made a branch called delete. So that's probably not what I want to do. I'm not sure how GitHub works. I can type git branch help. What are my choices? Well, it says I can list, create, or delete branches. How? Do you see delete anywhere? I have a feeling it's this with a D. So now let me look through this file. That's what I'm looking for. With a D or D option, branch name will be deleted. Ah, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to delete those branches. Let's try it. -D or --delete. Okay. I'm going to use a lowercase d because I don't want to force anything. Uppercase D would force it. So let's do this. There's my list of branch names. So if I type git branch --delete, and what do I want to delete? I want to delete the branch I just made called delete. Okay, it did. And if I type git branch again, that one's gone. And then if I type git branch, remember -D is the same exact thing as --delete. Okay, it's just a matter of seeing the whole word or typing less letters, right? And I want to delete dev course Wednesday. It deleted it. Git branch. Now, again, there's just one branch called main. It's up to date, right? There's nothing new to commit, and I've already pushed. So now I know that publicly on GitHub, there's an up-to-date version of this main branch that you can pick up and keep going. Cool.
I understand everything you did here, but I want to ask a question. What if in a case whereby you are not the admin, like you don't have rights to merge your project with the main branch, and you create your own local branch that you have to work? How do you go about that? Because you need to push that your local branch to GitHub and create a pull request for whosoever that is in charge of the branch to merge.
That's it. That's exactly right. What you just described is why pull requests exist, right? So when you don't have admin rights to push to a repo, all three of us do, so it doesn't matter, right? But if you don't have the right just to push directly, you submit a pull request so that whoever has the rights to do so can review that request and then choose to pull your changes, right? And think about those verbs, right? If you're pushing, that means you're taking what you have and pushing it in. A pull request means, hey, admin, will you pull in these changes? You are requesting them to look and pull those changes in. So it's the same functionality as push. It's just a matter of who's doing it, right? To get those changes up there. Let's look at pull requests. Why don't we do that next time? And it's going to be a little funky.
Okay.
Yeah, when we're all admins, it's harder to see the real experience. But let's try to make a case where we have to do a pull request. Maybe we can try that with like the Gimbalabs website, right? And you can submit a pull request to that just to see what that process is. So I'll set that up for you, whether we do that Friday or next week.
Okay, Mr. James. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around an extra 10 minutes, everybody. It was nice to have Josh and Gift here. And if anybody else is around, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
My pleasure. We're going to have to publish this site really soon too, right? I think we're almost to the point where we've got something that we can put up. And so that's
it's
really,
already beautiful.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
Mr. James.
I turned off my server. Yep.
Yeah, I would love to design the contact page, but I would want to create a contact form in which you can send emails. If someone fills the contact form, those details are being sent to someone's email. I don't know if you can help me out with that aspect, because I feel like I'm almost done with the about page.
There's a few options for that. I recommend you do some research on that. One decision you have to make is if you're going to use some service to manage your contact list or not. And I know that MailChimp, for example, is free for at first, at least, right? So to do your initial management, you might want to look into getting a MailChimp account, and that allows you to just embed a form on the page so people can sign up and you manage that from there. So I don't know who wants to be in charge of kind of marketing and the mailing list, but that would be a really good thing for somebody to take on. You can also build your own forms, and you can do some research on that, but still the data has to go somewhere, right? So we have to talk about the different options for storing the data. And you can look at, I recommend maybe looking at some packages. Of course, soon we'll have options for decentralized storage. So my team is working on some solutions with IPFS, for example. So if we could host your contacts on there, that would be really cool to not rely on any third parties. But we're still spinning up those solutions. Yeah. So more to come on that.
Awesome. All right, Mr. James. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. All right, I'll post this video, and looking forward to meeting again on Friday to pick up where we leave off.
Thank you, James.
Awesome. Thank you, James.
Thanks for being here, Juan.
Hey, congratulations for the
James,
tool.
you got 5 minutes after now? Just 5 minutes?
You bet. You bet. I'll stick around. Here, I'm going to stop recording and stop sharing.